Hello everyone. So we have been asked many times by our clients, how do you meal prep? And more so, how do you do it efficiently? Because a lot of times, especially when you're starting out, it can take hours. I remember when we first started in this lifestyle, when we were trying to eat cleaner, meal prep, make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success, it would literally take us all day Sunday. Sunday was our meal prep day, and it would take us anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5 hours, depending upon what we were making. Over the years, we've learned that sometimes simple is a lot easier, because we would try to make intricate recipes and all that fun stuff, because we really like variety. We don't like eating the same thing over and over and over. So we always wanted to make fun, unique, healthy recipes. But we found that really wasn't sustainable if we wanted to be able to meal prep efficiently. These days, we can literally do 4 or 5 different meats, 2 or 3 different carb sources. We always do our veggies fresh, so we never really do those until we're making our meals, like for the week or whatever, that day. But most of the time, we can do that in an hour. And have many different meats and carb sources as an option. What we found is, again, keeping the recipe simple. So I'll show you here in a second what I'm meaning by that, but most of the time we'll just take ground beef as an example. My favorite is actually just making it a soft taco flavoring, if that makes sense, because it actually goes with a lot of different recipes. If you keep the flavors simple and basic, you can take that meat and put it into almost any recipe you choose. So each day when David and I are getting ready for the day and we're trying to prep our meals, we can take that same ground beef as an example, and we can put it into 3 different meals and have them be 3 completely different flavors based on the sauces and the sides that we put with it. So yeah, I'm gonna show you here in a second, basically like what it is that we do. It's nothing spectacular. As you can see, I've got 2 crock pots or Instant Pots right here. Today, I'm gonna be doing 1 ground beef. It's just one of our packs. Normally I have 2 and I'll do 2 different flavors, but I already cooked one up yesterday. So I'm only doing 1 today. And we have a certain way that we really like to do a thin cut chicken breast. It's really, really simple, and it's literally 1 ingredient, and it tastes phenomenal. And then I am actually I'm using the Instant Pots because I'm gonna do 2 different chicken breast flavors. We've been craving curry for a while, and so it is more of an intricate recipe, unlike what I was just saying. And so we're doing 2 different recipes just because that's gonna be a very specific flavor. And then the other half of the chicken, I'm gonna keep it just simple like we normally do, so that we can put that into whatever recipe we choose to, or meal we choose to. So usually what we like to do, chicken almost always comes pretty lean. It's already got most of its fat and all that fun stuff cut off, but with us being the way we are, we have to cut even the rest of it off. So whenever we are doing our recipes, we always try to get every ounce of fat off that we possibly can. All the years of being in the kitchen, still have to sharpen the knife every single time. So I just got my chicken breast right here. This is what I'm gonna be putting into our Instant Pots. Let me see if I can angle this down maybe a little bit. And I'll show you what I mean by cutting off all the extra fat. I'm sure most of you already know. This is typically the part that takes the longest when you're doing your meal prep. So when you take a look at the chicken, it usually comes with this yucky, gross stuff. So literally we just trim that guy off, and then we're gonna take this chicken, and just as it is, once I get all this fat off of it, and if you notice like any, I don't know, sometimes you can see like they'll have like little bone pieces still stuck in it, just cut them off if it has it on there. And trust me, taking this little extra step can make the difference in whether your meal prep, when it's recooked, tastes good. We get people that talk to us all the time about how, you know, our meat is tender, it's not chewy, it's not gross when we do cook for other people, and it's honestly, because we take this slight little bit of time. Give me a sec. So you'll also, with your Instapots, make sure you spray them, because if you don't spray them with some kind of cooking spray or something of the sort, you can get it kind of like burnt and stuck to the sides, and it ends up getting more difficult to clean it out afterwards. So we always just do a little spray into the pots. Make sure that they will not stick. Super simple. And then I'm just gonna take this guy, throw it into one of them. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like 6 breasts here. So I'll put 3 in one, 3 in the other. Again, like I said, normally we do try to keep it all just one recipe to keep it easy. But again, we're really wanting curry for dinner tonight. So we're doing 2 different flavors. I'm gonna go ahead and get this all trimmed up, and I'll come back in a sec. So I got all of the fat trimmed off. You can see my big pile of grossness right there. That is all the fat, like any kind of, if I notice like any tendony, anything of that sort, we like to take it off. We're kind of anal about our fats, so we try to get rid of as much of it as we can. I don't know if it's from our meal prep days when we had the kitchen, but it's just something that we have to do. I got this started here. I've got my pans nice and sprayed so that they're ready to go and not gonna stick. With this one, our absolute favorite thing in the whole wide world is Lawry's garlic salt. Absolutely no idea why there is a difference between Lawry's and other brands. I think it has something to do with the way their parsley is in it or something, because I've noticed that difference. But Lawry's is the only brand we use, just simply because it does taste different to us versus other just garlic salts. So anyways, I have my thin sliced chicken right here. Like I said, it's actually pretty dang thin. And so I just laid out a few of them in my pan. I put a sprinkle of the Lawry's first, and then I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle on top of it some more. And this is literally all I put on this chicken. Nothing else. Nothing else. When I pan fry it that way, there's something, again, about having the garlic salt and then pan frying it up that just makes it super juicy, really yummy, and really easy. So I got that going, and now I'm gonna go ahead and take my ground beef, and I'm gonna add this to the other pan. And with this one, I know I had talked about having just simple flavors. There's 2 different ways that David and I like to flavor ours. And it's either like a taco, a very light taco seasoning, or Montreal steak. Those are the 2 that we usually do. My personal favorite is the taco, so I usually do that when I'm cooking, and when David cooks, he does the Montreal. I know it doesn't sound like it's a simple flavoring, because like you would think taco and it's like Mexi flavor only, but I'm telling you, if you take this flavoring and you actually put it in with a bolognese, or like we'll take this taco meat and we'll add it in with our marinara and some pasta, and it just gives an extra yummy flavor to any kind of Italian dish. So it really can go almost any direction. So for me, I can eat it plain, I can eat it in a dish. So I'm just adding a little bit of taco seasoning. And then I always, when I'm doing a taco seasoning, to me, it never has enough paprika, and I always like smoked paprika, and it never has enough cumin. So this is our wannabe cumin. Used to be our black pepper. Again, back from our kitchen days. And like I said before, staple, have to have garlic salt. Empty that guy out. There we go. Super simple. We've got these guys going here. I'm gonna turn this one on and get it mixed up. So, going like this. All the flavors mixed up. Now, when I was trimming off the meat, the fat from the meats earlier, it probably took me about 10 minutes to do. It wasn't very long at all. Very, very simple, but it does make all the difference in the world. I truly believe, you know, when people have asked us why our meats don't ever taste chewy, don't ever just taste weird, it's taking that extra step to get rid of the tendony pieces. It's the extra step of getting rid of the extra fat. It actually does make the difference, at least to us. And so yeah, I always just recommend it. And then while those, I'm actually gonna turn this guy down just a little bit while it fries. And then I'm going to get our chicken going. So the flavor that I'm going to do for the plain one, so we always add chicken broth. So I'm gonna add some chicken broth to it. So for the plain one, we're gonna just keep it simple, and I'm actually gonna just make it a Montreal chicken flavor. So instead of Montreal steak, so I'm just gonna do this. Now I've only got a few chicken breasts in there, so I don't need a whole lot. Again, normally I do the entire case of it in there. But, so Montreal chicken. Like I said, we're wanting some curry this time, so I'm actually doing 2 different batches. So I'm just gonna sprinkle a decent amount in. And flavoring really is based on what it is that you want to add to it. So if you like strong flavors, then go ahead and add stronger flavors. If you don't like strong flavor, then just add less. We like stronger flavors, so we have a tendency of putting a little bit extra than normal. And then for my curry, I've got some light coconut milk. I most likely won't use this entire can, but we will see. Give me a sec. So we'll go ahead and add this guy in to our pot. Yeah, I'm not going to use all of it. I used a good majority of it though. Again, if I was doing the entire can, then I would probably add, or if I was doing the entire batch of chicken, I'd add the whole can, but we're not. So I'm just I put about 3/4 of the can in, a little more than I probably would have, but it's not that big of a deal. I like it a little bit more coconutty. And then our curry, I'll be adding some yellow curry to it. Okay, and then with curry, I always like to add just a little bit of ginger to it as well. So we'll grab the ginger. Where are you at? There you are. Got some ginger. And we'll add just a little bit of ginger in with the curry. You really don't need much ginger because it can be a stronger flavor. So there you go, you can see. And I'm going to grab my tongs and stir that up real quick. And that is why I like to wear my, this guy. Got a little bit splattered on me. Yes, that's what happens when you're in the kitchen. Look at this guy, add it on real quick. No bitching in my kitchen, people. I have to tell my kids that all the time. Okay. We'll get this finished stirring up. And hopefully not make too much of a mess on myself. I'm gonna go ahead and add in just a little bit of the chicken broth to make it a little bit more liquidy because it is pretty thick with the coconut milk. So give me just a sec. We'll add some of this. There we go. All right, so we got both of our chickens now flavored. We've got our chicken breast on the stove, and we've got the ground beef on the stove as well. I'm gonna get these guys plugged in. I'll be right back. I got both of these guys plugged in now. I am gonna stick the lids on, making sure that they are sealed. They're not venting, so that way they can get pressurized. With this, I always just select poultry, and I leave it at its standard time of, it's usually 25 minutes. Well, 20-ish minutes. I actually usually do 20 minutes. So we'll take this down to 20. The other one is already at 20, and let it go. It will go for me. During my little break there too, I went ahead and flipped my chicken. You can see it's now starting to get this really yummy kind of golden brown on the top. And then my ground beef starting to cook up here. Get this mixed up again. Super simple. Now, as you can see, I've got 4 different meats, 4 different flavors going right now. Really easy. While this is going, I'll usually get a batch of rice going as well. We just like to use this little guy right here. This does about, so you add in 3 cups of rice, so it gives us about 6 cups of cooked rice. We just did a batch yesterday, so I'm not gonna worry about making any today. But what we do want to make, we actually just got some sweet potatoes. So I am going to cut up some sweet potatoes and put them in the oven. So let's get this guy going. Put it in for 400. Start. We'll get that guy going. I'm gonna go ahead and get my sweet potatoes peeled because I personally prefer my sweets without any of the skin. If we do red potatoes or yellow potatoes, anything of that sort, we always leave the skin on because I actually really like the skin on those guys. I know a lot of people think that I'm weird for liking the skin, but David is the same way, so that's usually how we leave them, but sweets, not so much. So I'm gonna get these guys peeled and cut up. I'll be right back. While I was doing the potatoes, I recognized that it is time to switch our chicken. But again, one of the things that really makes our chicken nice and juicy is paying attention to temperature. When it's fried like this, the temperature is going to be a little bit higher than we would normally take it. That's how we kind of get that golden brown look on it. So these are sitting about 180. They're ready to come off. I'm going to go ahead and grab this guy. We have lots of these nice little Tupperwares. It helps us be able to just snack all of our chicken in here, whatever meat it is that we're making. And then from here, I'm just going to take the rest of my chicken breast here and throw it right into the pan where it already is nice and hot and ready. Put these last little pieces in. Right, like that. And then we're gonna go ahead and sprinkle them with some more garlic salt. Voila. All right, I'm gonna get back to these potatoes. Got done chopping up all of the sweet potatoes. One of the things that David and I prefer when it comes to sweet potatoes is actually using coconut oil versus olive oil. It kind of brings out the sweetness of it. So I sprayed the bottom of it, and now I'm spraying the top of it so that they kind of get nice and crispy brown. And then with this, we like to use seasoning salt. Sometimes we'll make them sweet and we'll add Swerve brown sugar and Swerve granulated sugar with a little bit of cinnamon. But these days we're just going with, again, we've got a thing for Lowry's, as you can see. Sticking with kind of a little bit more of a savory. We've really liked this seasoning salt on our sweet potatoes. It's kind of been our go-to recently. So I'm gonna pop this in the oven real quick. And I stuck it in there for 25 minutes. While that is going, our chicken here is ready to be flipped again. I've already flipped it once, and so I'm flipping it again. Again, you can see it's getting the nice brown crispiness to it. It just tastes so yummy. And our ground beef is done, so I'm gonna go ahead and get our ground beef added into our container here. You can see I made a nice big old mess with our sweets. Let me grab a thing. I like to use a slotted spoon when I pull it out. That way I remove all of the grease. I'm not adding any. Now this is 96% lean, so the amount of grease that's in here is very, very minimal in the first place. But again, David and I like to remove all possible fats when we're doing our stuff, just because we try to keep things as lean as possible. And so we like to use the slotted spoon because it removes any of that extra fat instead of dumping it in with the ground beef. So we'll just get this put in here. And our chicken, one of them is down to 1 minute and the other one has 3 minutes. So the stuff that we have in the Instant Pot is almost done and ready to be shredded. So as you can see, like I said, we can usually get a pretty decent amount of food meal prepped that lasts us nearly the entire week in about an hour. Now today, because I did the sweet potatoes, it's gonna take a little bit longer because we've got those in the oven for 25 minutes. So a little bit longer, but again, it's something that you throw in the oven, you walk away until the timer goes off. Sometimes we have to do it a little bit longer, but sweets actually cook a little bit. When I chop them up, dice them up as small as I did, they actually cook pretty quickly. So usually the 25 minutes is ample amount of time. But I'm gonna go ahead, as you can see, I got this all done. I'm gonna let this cool down before I put a lid on it. If you go and you stick a lid on it immediately when it's still hot and steamy, you're actually trapping some of that moisture in there, and it actually increases the chances of it kind of developing bacteria and stuff of that sort, and it can go bad faster. It is suggested that you allow it to cool down to room temperature before you lid it and put it into the fridge. So I'm gonna let this cool for a little bit before I stick the lid on it, and I'm gonna get the rest of the mess cleaned up and take a look at those chicken because it just beat. So both of the chickens are done now. I let them naturally decompress initially, but I usually like let it sit for just a little bit and let it kind of like depressurize. That's what I was looking for. Depressurize on its own, but I usually don't wait the entire time. So I just went ahead and put it to venting so that I could finalize it. So this one right here is our yummy curry. And then we got our Montreal chicken. Got the lids off of both of those guys. So you can see here, that's our curry chicken right now. And then just real simple, that guy right there. So I'm going to just take my tongs, and I actually like to shred it up inside. So you can see it's just falling right apart. And that way it gets a lot of the yummy juices in it. And then I'm going to stick these into a container, and I will add a little bit of the juices that are from inside of here. I don't add all of it. I just use some of it to keep it nice and moist and keep some of the flavor into it. I don't like to add all of the liquid though, because then sometimes it can be just too much liquid that it's sitting in for way too long. So I'll probably add about half of what's in here into the container when we go to put it away. With this curry, the way it's looking right now, it looks pretty brothy. So when I take it out of here and I put it into our container, I'm probably gonna add the last little quarter of that coconut milk just to make it a little bit creamier again, a little less brothy. But I usually like to make it a little bit more brothy when I am cooking it in the Instant Pot, just so that way it doesn't burn or anything of that sort. And then I'll add in a little of the additional ingredients later. Getting my little containers again, and I'll be back once these are. I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at these chickens because they look like they're pretty dang close to done. Yes, sir. These guys are ready to go. Okay, I'm gonna pull them out. Turn this guy off, throw it in with our other guys. Got us some nice, yummy pan-fried chicken. Just used the garlic salt, used a little bit of olive oil spray. And that is all that we used on this guy. This is probably one of our entire family's favorite way of having chicken right now. Even the kids love it. So super easy way of making a meal prep. That one does take a little bit longer than some of the others because you do have to manage it a little bit more with doing the flipping and stuff of that sort. But again, it's not that hard, and it's worth it with how good it tastes. Another thing that we always found when we first started with our meal prepping years and years ago, part of what took so long with doing it was the cleanup. If any of you are like how we were when we first started doing meal prep, the cleaning was, it could take an hour itself with the amount of pots, pans, and having everything just pulled out and strewn everywhere. We found over the years what makes it actually faster is if you clean as you go. So as we finish a pan, we clean it immediately. As we finish with an ingredient, we try to put it away immediately. And it makes it so you can see the kitchen is already fairly clean and picked up. Even though I just got done doing, we're looking at 4 recipes and the sweets. So cleaning up as you go will actually make it go faster for you versus leaving all of the cleanup at the very end. And then it's like just a pain in the ass. So, and now our sweet potatoes just beeped. I am going to check them to make sure that they are nice and soft. So I'm gonna grab myself a little fork, make sure that the fork can go in if they're done. Let's see. What does it look like? Let's see if this goes in. Oh yeah. Okay. So, once they are cooked like that, I actually like to then turn it from bake to broil, and I'm going to put it in the broiler for about 2 minutes. It's not long at all, just enough to give a little bit of crispiness to the top of it. Another thing too, now we've got our chicken out from the crock pots, and I have the ability to taste them now since they're nice and cooked. And I did notice with my curry chicken, it's not salty enough. Curry is probably the one and only that we don't add garlic salt to, because for whatever reason, it does actually kind of taste funky with the curry flavoring. So I just like to add traditional iodized salt. And David and I do like a decent amount of salt, so I'm gonna add a decent amount. We like our stuff to be flavored, and salt adds flavor. So I'm just gonna stir this up now with having added a little salt to it. What I always recommend too, when you're cooking your foods, if you're unsure as to how much seasoning to add to it, I always say it's better to err on the side of less, because you can always add more, you can never take away. So what I tend to do, especially if you're new to cooking a recipe, add what you feel is a good amount that is going to give it good flavor, but maybe err on the side of caution. And then once the meat is cooked, you can sample it and see that is perfect now. But if you add too much right out the gate, you can't take that out. You can't take it away. Ooh, those are getting yummy. We've got 18 seconds. We are 18 seconds away from being done meal prepping all of our food. Again, that was 4 meats. We got 2 that were in the Instapot. We had 2 that were on the stove. And then we had our sweets in the oven. And all of that was done a little over an hour. Didn't take too long, but keep in mind, usually it is David and I doing this together. I was able to do, it's about an hour and 15 minutes to get all of that done with just me alone. So if you and your partner, or you and a friend, or whoever it is, you want to get together and do a little meal prep Saturday, Sunday, whatever day works for you, 2 of you can knock it out pretty dang quickly. We do it fairly often, but this busy man over here has been doing trainings this morning, and now he's working on some check-ins. So I am getting the meal prep in today so that we got some food for the rest of the week because we actually didn't have time to do it yesterday. So Monday it is for us. Okay, guys, so wrapping things up, we've got all of our goodies here that are meal prepped and ready for the week. As you can see, the kitchen is already nice and cleaned up. These are just waiting to dry and then I'll get them put away, but all is said and done. Me doing this by myself, getting it all taken care of, everything washed, cleaned, multiple recipes for the week. It took me about an hour and a half. So I'm telling you guys, meal prep doesn't have to be as crazy or long or complicated as sometimes it feels it needs to be. Keeping things a little bit more simple definitely makes things easier. So like I said in the beginning, kind of going back, just a quick recap, things that I suggest. Keep the recipe simple, whether it's, just adding garlic salt to something or Montreal steak or whatever that might be. Keep the recipe simple because then you can actually put that into multiple meals throughout the week and have them be different flavors. Let's see, make sure that less is more in the beginning. So add smaller amounts of seasoning unless you feel confident that you know what it's going to taste like. So especially if you're salting, salt and pepper, those kind of things, you can't take away. So once you've salted and peppered things to a certain point, then there's no removing it. So definitely stick with simple initially. And then once the meat is cooked, you can try it and see if you need to add more. Even with my sweet potatoes, I started simple. I tasted them when I was taking them out of the oven and it needed a little bit more of the seasoning salt, so I added a little extra. Like I already told you guys with the curry, it needed a little more salt and the rest of the recipes are spot on. So one of our other go-tos that we like to usually do, we just don't have any this week, is we usually have a London broil that we'll throw on the smoker. So we usually have a smoker going as well. Another one of those that's really easy, you just throw it out on the smoker, or if you don't have a smoker, just throw it on a barbecue, on a grill, and you can literally just throw it on, put a meat probe in it, and walk away. And once it gets to a certain temperature, we go out, we flip it, then we put the probe back in, and we're able to work on other recipes while that's cooking, and then we have a nice, yummy smoked piece of meat that we get to eat throughout the week. So again, keep it simple, you guys. It doesn't have to be super complicated. I plan on throughout the rest of the month or whatever, I'll probably throw in some actual recipes that we do that will be a little bit more intricate, I guess, than just a simple garlic salt or Montreal chicken or taco seasoning or anything of that sort, because we do family dinners quite often, and so that is when I will cook fresh for the family, and I'll usually make something a little bit more intricate with either a recipe or just I like to throw things together. That's kind of how I work. So anyways, keep an eye out for some of those recipes, and eventually I plan on also trying to take like actual recipes that are out there that are kind of common recipes and show you guys how you can make them a little cleaner, because that is one of the things that we also love to do, is take fan favorites, whatever that might be, and put a clean, healthy spin on it, so that way it can be potentially prep friendly, and all that. One of our go-tos is actually a pizza. So stay tuned.